أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. The most beautiful dua by Musa alayhi salam, which says, O my Lord, open for me my chest, that is, grant me self-confidence, contentment and boldness, and ease my task for me, and make loose the knot, the defect from my tongue, that is, remove the incorrectness from my speech, so that they may understand my speech. Now, the praise for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and salutations on our beloved Prophet. All praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Blessings and salutations upon Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. We ask Allah to bless his entire family, the most pure and noble of all families. And we ask Allah to bless all his companions. And we ask Allah to bless every single one of us and to bless our offsprings, those to come upon the day of Qiyamah, and may Allah bless the entire Ummah at large. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, brothers and sisters. I hope that you are doing well and also preparing well for your akhirat. Now, this series today is going to be the series where we had been learning from the wisdom of Islam. So the series which was the series number was series number 2. So the second series, which was about adorning our lives with Islamic wisdom, this chapter is going to be of that series. And why I thought about this particular series right now was because when we were understanding about the stories of our beloved Prophet and the previous story that we were going through of Adam alayhi salam, there were so many points of hikmat and wisdom which were coming from that story. So I thought that, those gems and those treasures which are coming from that, let's put them in this series of ours, which is about adorning our lives with the Islamic wisdom. And therefore, this particular today's chapter is going to be of series number 2. And then maybe later we'll inshallah get back to the story and we'll continue further the story. And we'll also be continuing with the other series, which is that of Majesty of Allah and also the exemplary women in Islam. So all of that will inshallah keep going. But the hikmat which we'll keep receiving, those gems, those treasures, of wisdom that we'll keep receiving from all these series, that can be collectively put in series number 2, which is adorning our lives with Islamic wisdom. So having said that, now the gems which were coming, the pearls which were coming, the diamonds which were coming of wisdom from Adam alayhi salam's story were absolutely immense. And just to bring a few of that, in today's chapter of Adorning Our Lives with Wisdom of Islam, I would like to share with you that, because Adam alayhi salam's story revolves around the very fact of, the very idea of pride, arrogance, disobedience, which was demonstrated by Iblis. So now it's very important for us as human beings to be able to understand, that there are a number of peculiarities which are there relating to Satan or devil or Iblis that we call. There are a lot of things which are there, and we need to make ourselves aware about that, so that we remain alert, we stay cautious, and we have the anchor of knowing what is our priority. Now, the description which was there, which was coming in Adam alayhi salam's story about Satan, is not what he thinks, in fact, or even what his adherents think of who he is. In fact, he is so much less than that. The interesting fact to note is that Satan deceives himself as much as he tries to deceive others. I mean, forget about others, but he's basically deceiving himself more than anything else. And we can see how this is true, how this is so correct. And there are so many amazing truths about Iblis which comes out from Adam alayhi salam's story, because Allah had warned us, saying that he is clearly your enemy. So we must know and we must be aware about these traits of our enemies, so that inshallah we do not get deceived by him. Now, so I just wanted to share some of that with you today in the wisdom that we receive from Islam, and let's adorn ourselves with that wisdom, so that then we'll be able to make ourselves better prepared to face him or his so-called onslaughts. Now, the very first thing which we must keep in mind, brothers and sisters, is this very differentiation, which is there. A lot of times, in fact, I myself used to, and maybe my brothers and sisters also would, use the very term Satan and Iblis synonymously. A lot of time we use it interchangeably. And I used to use it interchangeably. But what we learn from Adam alayhi salam's story had been that, Satan, for that matter, devil, Satan, this is a title, this is a designation. The name is Iblis. And Quran, for that matter, uses the former, that is the Satan, 88 times. And Quran uses the name Iblis 11 times in Quran. And we all now understand, we all know that Iblis was the jinn, and he was somehow, affected by Allah's command, the command which Allah had given to angels to prostrate before Adam alayhi salam. And, of course, about this we cannot speculate more, because, the only source for this knowledge is the revelation. So we go by the revelation. But what we had seen even in the story was that Iblis had refused to follow the angels, and he had refused to prostrate before Adam alayhi salam. And his claim was that he was better than Adam alayhi salam, because he was made of fire and Adam alayhi salam was made of clay. And we remember that was the point where we had stopped in the story also. Now we are in this next series of Hikmat that we are receiving, series 2. And here the point to understand is, the gem, the treasure that we take from that is, that at this point, the point where Iblis had refused, where he had disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is the point when Iblis becomes Satan. And that means exactly in fact, this very idea of Satanism or Satan is meaning rebellious, somebody who rebels, arrogant. So in that sense, Iblis, he exercised his freedom, and exercising his free will, his freedom, he chose to be Satan or satanic. The point for us to always remember, or the gem which has been there, or the pearl which we have received of wisdom, is that he was not created evil. In fact, nothing is created evil. Nothing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not created anything as evil, brothers and sisters. This is something we must always remember. This is the wisdom which is coming out from the stories that we are going through. I mean, everything from Islam, from Quran, from Hadith that we share with each other here, the wisdom which is coming out of that is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had not created anything evil. Nothing is evil. It's out of the free will of people that they choose to be Satan, or they choose to be evil, or they choose to rebel. Now, Iblis, so this is something that we must always remember, and this is something which I, came to understand, how the very term Satan and Iblis, these are not synonymous. He was of jinn, Iblis was of jinn, but when he refused and when he disobeyed, when he was succumbed totally by arrogance and pride, and he disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that was the point where he exercised his freedom, he exercised his choice, and he became Satan. He was not born as Satan, he became that. So Allah had not created evil, nothing is evil. We, out of our free will, choose to be so. And Iblis was, it's also mentioned again, as we keep saying, we are not saying anything out of, just like that, out of thin air. It's there in Quran, in Surah Al-Anam, in verse 112. And there it was mentioned how Iblis was proud, how he was so self-centered, and he rebelled against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then he became a non-believer. In fact, he became the chief of all the jinns that were like-minded with him. So whoever follows Iblis in his arrogance, in his rebellion, in his wickedness, all of them then get clubbed together to be called as Satan. And that is the case both among the jinn also and among the mankind, people, human beings also. And this is very clearly mentioned in Surah Al-Anam in verse 112. So in that sense, brothers and sisters, for us to remember this pearl, this gem which is coming out, of which we adorn ourselves, is that there are many Satans, but there is only one Iblis. Okay, so Iblis as Satan is capitalized. And why is he capitalized? Because of him being the epitome as well as the source of all evil and mischief, the entire Satanism began. Whereas the other Satans, they are in the lower case. Okay, so Iblis, when we talk about Iblis as Satan, then it's capitalized because he started it all. So the relationship which is there, between the two, it's like one of the leader and the followers. So Iblis being the leader, and then you have the followers from among the jinns and humankind who follow and who just, go on the same path, same line of being arrogant, of having the pride, of being disobedient. So this is this is truly enlightening to see, to be able to study how precisely the Quran uses the words Satan and Iblis. And Quran, so are you getting the differentiation which is there of these words? Because this is why this is important. Is this may seem to be very frivolous, but this is not, because here it's Quran is helping us, Allah is helping us to understand and to recognize the context, and giving each word, that is Satan and Iblis, its precise meaning, its exact meaning and its exact role. For example, when a discourse is about prostration before Adam alayhi salam, then if you would notice, Quran has used the word Iblis. Quran doesn't use the word Satan, because solely in his personal capacity, Iblis had refused to follow the divine orders to prostrate. However, when the discourse moves to the act of deceiving Adam alayhi salam and his wife Hawa alayhi salam, and then causing them to fall, then Quran employs the word Satan, because that's, there he acted in his capacity as that avowed deceiver. So in the latter scenario now, Iblis was then plying his trade, so to speak, So therefore, and see, this is such so subtle thing, sometimes one might not even notice it while going through Quran. We might not even notice, but such a small aspect it may appear, but there is so much wisdom behind it, because Allah is telling us He has not created anybody as evil. Allah has not created Satanism or Satan. Iblis, out of his free will, had chosen to be evil. Allah has not created evil. And that's the kind of distinction which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making very clearly when He uses these two words separately in different contexts, because they are recognizing, Allah is wanting us to recognize the context, and then giving each word its exact meaning, its exact role. So this is the first gem that we are adorning ourselves with, and I hope my brothers and sisters have adorned themselves with this gem, with this jewel. Now, another jewel which comes out, another pearl of wisdom which comes out when we study Quran, when we understand about the stories of our beloved prophets, when we read through the Hadith, through Quran, is that, and this is also something, which many a times people ask, the callers or the guests who come, they also ask, I've seen in Dawa Wise, where they would say, oh, so it was, so was Iblis so strong that because of his particular thing, Adam alayhi salam and Hawa alayhi salam had to come here on earth? Was he so strong? Was he able to change, the plans? Not at all. Satan did not thwart Allah's plan. He's nobody to be changing Allah's plans. So here now, the second pearl, the second wisdom which comes out is that by refusing to prostrate before Adam alayhi salam and by causing Adam alayhi salam and his wife to be expelled from Jannah, Satan in no way was disrupting Allah's heavenly plan. In fact, for that matter, positively, nobody can upset the will and plan of Allah, even in the slightest of manner. That's something that we must understand. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is the creator. He is the master. And all other beings are the creations. They are the slaves. How dare, or what capacity do we have to be able to thwart Allah's plan, or to be able to come in between that? No way. So whatever Satan did, and whatever Adam alayhi salam and his wife Hawa alayhi salam subsequently did, that was within the framework of Allah's given freedoms and powers. So in that sense, their respective actions, it all just connoted an aspect of the range of their potential choices. And they chose what they chose, and they acted as they acted. And so everybody, has to, what comes out of it is that everybody has to then live with the foreseeable consequences. Now, hypothetically, if they did not choose what they chose, they would have then chosen something else, which again could not exceed the parameters of their assigned freedoms and their competencies which have been there. So what we need to understand is that everything was part of Allah's infinite wisdom, Allah's infinite knowledge and power. Subhanallah. I mean, just immerse yourself with this. It was yet part of his design. It was just part of his design for his creation and for its existence, because absolutely nothing can happen unless it is sanctioned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No will or action, nothing at all can come to pass without the authorization of his divine will, without the authorization of his grace. So in that sense, even before the prostration and even before the Jannah incident, Allah had declared that he was going to create man as his vicegerent on earth, as his khalifa on earth. And we had seen this from Quran. In the story of Adam alayhi salam, we have already seen this. So now are you getting, it was very fascinating for me when I was going through Quran. So I think even my brothers and sisters will find it very fascinating how Allah had already declared, and this was something which was happening prior to prostration event. Even prior to prostration, Allah had said that he's going to create a man, and that is going to be, human being are going to be his Khalifa. Adam alayhi salam is going to be his Khalifa, his vicegerent on earth. So in that sense, it was not, point which I'm, reiterating and emphasizing is that it was not that Iblis had done something which had, thwart Allah's plan, and because of his particular choice, now everything went haywire, and then, Adam alayhi salam and Hawa alayhi salam had to come here on earth. Not at all. It was, Allah had already declared that they are going to be, Adam alayhi salam is going to be the vicegerent on earth. So in that sense, human beings, man for that matter was very temporarily placed in Jannah, and it was only to be subjected to that learning process, to undergo a test. And then what happens afterward was all part of the intended learning procedure. It was part of the test. So the second, very, very important gem for us to adorn ourselves with is nobody dare can thwart Allah's plan. Nobody has that capacity. Nobody has that power. not even Iblis. Now, and this is proved through Quran in terms of the sequence of the events. Third, so this is important for us to remember, because now we are also seeing how Satan is not that powerful as he thinks himself to be. Now, third very important aspect, which comes as a pearl of wisdom from what we are understanding through the stories and everything, all that we are sharing or about Quran, about Hadith. Another important aspect and a gem which is there, and let's adorn ourselves with this gem, and that's it. That is that Satan is in fact the source of all, whatever we are seeing in terms of evil which is taking place, the sophisticated modern evil which is there in today's world, in these contemporary times. Allah is not behind that. It's all, they are all the followers of Satan. Satan is the source of all that. Allah has not created evil. So, Satan, and he's of course supported by his army of Satans, and they are from among jinns also. They are among the mankind also. They are the source and incarnation of all the sin. And he even paved the way for today's most devastating forms of evils which are there, which are present in the world, be it rampant materialism that we talk about, or for that matter, even atheism that we see, agnosticism that we see, this entire hedonistic idea, pleasure seeking, all of this, all of the fitna that we are seeing here. So this is somewhere supported by Satan and his army of Satans, and the army includes from among the jinn and also among the mankind. Now here, see, he saw in Adam alayhi salam no more than matter and form. That's the problem. Because, and because we remember constantly he was saying that Adam alayhi salam is just made out of clay. What's the big deal? So he was not able to see beyond matter, beyond form, in terms of, constructing his very flawed judgment. And he was just, he was just not taking other things into account. He was just taking the matter and the form and excluding all the other factors. He was so much blinded by his haughtiness, by his jealousy, by his self-regard, that he could not see, let alone appreciate. That comes even at a latter end. He could not even see the spiritual, the cerebral, the moral considerations which were present in Adam alayhi salam. And that's the reason why every subsequent materialistic and that kind of very, very covetous tendency which is there, which we find in the world, that's an offshoot of this kind of outlook of Satan, where we just see on the surface level, we just see the matter, we just see the form, we just get blinded by jealousy, by haughtiness, we just get blinded by materialistic glamour. Whenever you see all of this, remember, this is all an offshoot of the outlook which Satan had. Iblis also had the same outlook, and all those, you see in the world having this similar kind of outlook. It'll be very easy for you to decipher, which track, which tendency they are following. Again, nothing is being said just like that. We find in Quran, in Surah Al-Nisa, in verse 119, where Satan, pledges. He pledged that he will mislead people and he will arouse in them sinful desires to such an extent that they will then eventually make recourse to the option of changing the creation of Allah. Astaghfirullah. Now, are you seeing? Just look at Surah Al-Nisa, the ayat 119, brothers and sisters, 119. This was the pledge which was made by Satan, that he is going to mislead people. He is going to arouse in them those kinds of sinful desires. And he'll arouse that to such an extent that eventually what they'll do is that they'll make recourse to the option of changing the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And are you seeing how the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is being changed in today's scenario? I mean, it's so easy to see that, be it LGBT, whatever. You just see how, and all of this, people who are taking this recourse, you can very well see which track are they following. Because you see, the one who started this was Iblis. So you can, very easily see these are those same track, same line of thoughts, same kind of tendency that you can easily see, and for you then to be able to decipher, not just in others, and of course within yourself. In case if you by mistake start following that tendency, you will know where is it coming from. Is it coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or am I going on the track of Satan? So in that sense, nothing is to stand in the way of that full gratification of the human fantasies and the, vain desires which are there, which works like a means of then self-destruction. And all of that, it appears like it appears like those fantasies, like those desires, like something which is so glamorous, but eventually it is just taking you to the path of self-destruction. And that's what, Satan's realization of his dreams was. It was also rooted in the former. So all the achievements, all the advancements, all the discoveries of man, they are somewhere when they are subjected to the service of that hedonistic kind of inclination. That's very clear that it's an outlook of Satan. It's an extension of Satan. It's being guided somewhere. I would not even want to use the term guide, because I would like to use that in a very positive sense, but it is something which is being coaxed to you by Satan. So so today's modern man, on account of so remarkable, on account of his very remarkable knowledge, or that civilizational refinement that we boast or we take pride about, it is nothing more than that mischievous and immoral extension of Satan. So that is something that we must very much try to remember, because if we will not, then we'll not be able to catch, and we'll just get blinded by this, blinded by the glamour or the way in which it is being used. So what we need to remember is that the satanic cults which are there, they are alive. And they're not just alive, they're just kicking like never before. Now, the thing for us to remember is that Satan was as confused as he was wrong about the most fundamental things in lives. So, and that's what you will see. That is the tendency which you will see in, people who are following that track. They're not just confused about things. They're also absolutely, wrong about the most fundamental things which are present in life. For example, Iblis, he blames Allah for sending him astray. And at the same time, then he promises that he himself will send people astray. So imagine, first of all, you're going astray, then you're blaming Allah for that. And not just blaming Allah for that, you're also saying that I am now promising you that I am also going to, make, humankind go astray. In fact, according to many of the scholars of the Quran, he had just wavered somewhere between fatalism and that notion of absolute free will. And this is something which could likewise also implies his solicitation and and also his solicitation of the degree of divinity which he was trying to claim, because he promised to do to people what Allah had done to him. That and that's where he was absolutely going flawed. So instead of worshipping Allah, what happens is these kinds of people who are astray, they end up worshipping him, venerating him, following him. So that's what he does. That either they venerate him, the Satan, or they go in for the batil religions, batil ideologies, batil isms, and they don't even realize that they are venerating what he had wanted people to go astray towards. And Satan he knew what and where the truth lay, yet he refused to comply by that. He was keen to obscure it. He was keen to, in fact, obscure all the avenues which were even leading towards that. He just wanted to muddle. He just wanted to confuse the truth. He just wanted to make it neither fully known and nor knowable. Oh God, Allah, subhanallah. So now again, I want to bring more points of Jules, but let's stop today at this point and let me greet Salamati and let me just leave you to ponder on this, reflect on this, sink this within yourselves, and inshallah we'll meet in the next chapter with more hikmat and wisdom of Quran. Till then, take care of yourself and let me greet Salamati on all my brothers and sisters. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.